The Great Depression, a story of struggle and resilience. Imagine the world as it was in the 1920s. The United States was riding high on the wave of the Roaring Twenties. Cities were booming, jazz filled the air, and the stock market was climbing to unprecedented heights. People were optimistic, buying stocks on credit and dreaming of wealth that seemed just within reach. Farmers, although facing struggles due to falling crop prices after World War I, still hoped for a brighter future. But beneath this glittering surface, cracks were forming. It all came crashing down on October 29, 1929, Black Tuesday. The stock market, bloated by speculation and overconfidence, collapsed. Overnight, fortunes were lost. Bankers, factory workers, and farmers alike were thrust into a financial freefall. This was not just a temporary setback, but the beginning of the most devastating economic downturn in modern history, the Great Depression. Let's start in the cities, where life had been vibrant. Banks were central to the economy, and they had loaned out huge sums to investors, businesses, and ordinary people who had used credit to fuel their dreams. Imagine walking into your bank only to find its doors shut, your hard-earned money gone forever. Without banks to lend money, businesses couldn't grow. Instead, many started shutting down, leading to widespread unemployment. By 1933, about 25% of the US workforce, over 15 million people, were unemployed. Bread lines and soup kitchens became common sights in once prosperous cities. Families huddled in makeshift homes called Hoovervilles, bitterly named after President Herbert Hoover, whom many blamed for the crisis. Now, picture the rural Midwest. Farmers were already struggling in the 1920s due to overproduction and plummeting crop prices. Then came the Dust Bowl, a man-made ecological disaster. Over-farming and drought turned the once fertile Great Plains into a barren wasteland. Dust storms, sometimes called black blizzards, swept across the land, choking livestock and burying homes under layers of dirt. Families, unable to pay their mortgages, were forced to abandon their farms. The Depression wasn't just an American problem, it was global. Countries around the world had been connected through trade and debts incurred during World War I. When the US economy collapsed, it triggered a chain reaction. International trade dried up as countries imposed tariffs to protect their industries, worsening the crisis. Germany, already weakened by reparations from World War I, saw skyrocketing unemployment, creating fertile ground for extremist ideologies like Nazism to rise. Let's focus on the people. Imagine a factory worker in Detroit, laid off after his plant shut down. He goes home to his family, knowing they may not have enough to eat. Or a school teacher in Kansas, who continues to teach despite not being paid for months because she can't bear to leave her students. Children dropped out of school to help their families survive, and entire communities came together to support one another, even when they had nothing to give but kindness. The Depression also deeply affected women and minorities. Women often faced criticism for taking jobs, accused of stealing work from men. For African Americans, who were already marginalized, the Depression was even worse. By 1932, the frustration of the American people was palpable. Herbert Hoover's policies, which relied on the idea that the economy would fix itself, had failed. The nation elected Franklin D. Roosevelt, who promised a New Deal for Americans. FDR's first 100 days in office were a whirlwind of activity. He launched government programs like the Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC, and Works Progress Administration, WPA, to create jobs. The Social Security Act was introduced to protect the elderly and unemployed. These measures didn't end the Depression, but they provided hope and relief for millions. Roosevelt's fireside chats, radio addresses to the American people, restored trust and made people believe the government was working for them. His leadership marked a turning point, but the Depression still lingered. The Great Depression finally began to ease in the late 1930s, and ironically, the outbreak of World War II played a significant role in ending it. The war effort created millions of jobs, from factory workers building planes to soldiers heading overseas. By the early 1940s, unemployment had plummeted and the economy roared back to life. The Great Depression left a lasting impact on the world. It reshaped how governments viewed their role in the economy. Programs like Social Security and unemployment insurance became permanent fixtures of American life. The Depression also taught people about resilience. Communities supported one another through unimaginable hardship. Artists, writers and musicians captured the struggles and hopes of ordinary people, creating works that still resonate today. In the end, the Great Depression wasn't just an economic crisis. It was a human story of suffering, survival and perseverance. It remains a stark reminder of what can happen when financial systems falter and serves as a lesson in the importance of compassion and collective effort during times of crisis.